everybody. This is Joe with eagleeyemold, mold assessor, and a little presentation today of one of these jobs that are just a mystery. So a lot of different things, a lot of parts and pieces, and one of those head scratches that you don't add an extra half hour or more just on the inspection, and you'll stay there longer just to figure out and make sense of what's going on. So this is my house, 5, 6 years old, not that old. Um, it was bought, so I had a previous client who bought a house for their daughter. Daughter bought it in June, and I get a call in September saying, "Hey, we got a mold situation." And I'm like, "Wasn't inspected?" They're like, "Yeah, everything was done. Everything came out clean." So from the beginning, it was a little bit of a, okay, this is an odd moment. And getting to the house, this is all the situation is taking place on the second level. So I check downstairs, everything's good. I come upstairs and I see this. I'm like, oh my God, this is just crazy. So I'm looking, trying to make sense. You look here, it's clean. Over here, it's loaded. And as you're looking through, and there's just tons of colonies. This is crazy. Again, it's just a nice, almost straight line. Ecology here, no ecology there, and looking through, and I just, okay, all right. So let me see where else. So this is the header part of the closet. Even here, it's just odd, because usually when you have a condensational situation in a house, it's all over everything. It's all over the contents. It's uniform, more or less. In most parts, when it's especially this bad. So I'm looking around some more, and then I spot this at the upper wall, a partition wall between two bedrooms, and I'm like, this is just, is the roof leaking now? And I couldn't figure this out. I'm seeing some staining, some moisture. So I says, okay, let me take some pictures, see what's going on. And then another issue, okay. This is when people put air ACs really low and there's an opening, or it's not sealed properly at these locations, hi-hats, anything like that. And you'll see that in the video. Air will pool, and once that AC turns off, and this is the coldest spot, now you start forming condensational mold. So that this was now, another situation, so it wasn't making sense. And you can see here, it's just, again, it's not just widespread, a little bit of discoloration. Again, I'm thinking leak, possibly leaking. I checked the AC. So this is the AC closet, and this is a AC, either 4 or 5 ton on a metal stand, in a closet it's a solid door. It's supposed to shut, create the negative pressure. And this is a return jumper that jumps into the hallway. And I see this discoloration here. Did this get ripped or torn? Is there a puncture in the supply plenum? And overall, it's not bad. I've been to a same model house and it was a total wreck, but this is really not bad. This has a flaws, and at the end of the video, I'm going to discuss this. This shouldn't be. But overall, it just wasn't, I can't say, okay, the AC is not working right. I go from there. I'm going in the hallway, and I see this. I'm like, oh, man. So, okay, someone's putting the AC on kind of low. It's got to be. That's one point. Now I see it like this. This is air pulling out. Again, warm air from the attic. This is not sealed tightly. The popcorn, not the popcorn, the knocked out material may create valleys and peaks, and this may not be totally flush. So I've seen that a lot in houses down here. So I go to the laundry room. I'm like, oh my God, now I got on the corner again, the edge of the wall, the ceiling, and this is a little bit longer. So I'm just, you can see the darkness here. So it's just a concentration of condensational mold going through. So I was like, okay, all right, this is multiple, in my head, multiple things were going on. I go to the linen closet. I said, okay, all right, not bad. The contents are good, nothing too crazy. I look up. Wow, okay, again, similar kind of pattern. You have the environment here, and not here, not here. So it's a selective area where mold's growing. So usually I see mold growing in situations where you have a solid door and not a louvered door, and the AC is struggling, or there's issues, and you see this, but it's more uniform. and I guess more intense sometimes. But looking now I go to the master closet. Now I'm starting to see the streaks. I start seeing the mold here. Again, this is a condensation. So this is the air being pulled in. You can see the discoloration here. This is more of a dusting that's settling. And then, 6 months or depending, it'll start turning to this where the mold will start having a better environment. But this is just streaks of air coming in. That's warm condensation forming, and in this area this is more of like a fine dust coming from the attic. But all this is casing on the whole covering the framing. You have a drywall, you have a space, you have the wood. So all this is just covering your scuttle access, and this is not sealed. So the air from the return is actually pulling all this through. Everything's good here. You see the weather stripping. So that, not all houses have weather stripping at the scuttle access. So this is really good. So, okay, but this, no good. So I get to the master bathroom, and this is the epicenter. And I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on here? I'm looking up. I see glistening of water. The walls are sweating. You got ecology all over the place. Again, most of the upper wall has been affected. I'm looking all around. I'm like, okay, here, water glistening. You got streaks coming down. You don't see this often. And I'm like, this just does not make sense. And I know this is the center. But there's no real leak. This is sweating. What the hell is going on? And it took me a while. And going back to my days as working in AC is what, gave me that idea. So here's the sample that I took. I already know what this is. So I said, let me hit this because this is going to tell me this has been there for a long time. You can see it's starting to form here. And again, now I'm looking at the humidity, the temperature. Okay, temperature's a little low. In my house, I'm 75, 76. The house, just struggles when you try to go lower than 75. That's my house. This was, it wasn't bad, 65%. So the EPA says you want to be between 30 and 60. I agree with that. If you could be no matter how, any point further down than 60, if you get in the 50s, 40s, that's great. You'll never have an issue. 65%, that's fine. ASHRAE, which is the engineering personnel, the HVAC people, they say 65%. But 65 to 70 is always, well, I go in a house at 70%, I'm already looking underneath everything and saying, you got condensation mold. You don't have that room from 65 to 70. So if you can stay at 57, 58, no problem. You'll never have an issue. But thinking, and I went back to this bathroom and I realized, where's the drop? Where's the AC supply drop? It's covered up. It was supposed to be cut out when they put the drywall at the ceiling, and the inspectors missed it. The home inspectors missed it years later. Everybody missed it. And now you have this situation. So what was happening was you have your drop that's right against the drywall, and maybe there's a little bit of space, but it was never cut out and put in the grill on. So all that air is now in that attic. And now this person, there may have been a problem, and the problem was on the other side of the drywall. Now, when this new person moved in and says, you know what, I don't like to have 76 degrees on the thermostat, I'm going to put on 72, 71. Now you accelerated a problem. And that problem shown itself throughout the house. So all these lower levels where that cold air went, maybe the insulation wasn't patted down well, or there was pockets where the air can get in underneath the insulation. So that insulation helped keep it colder and create the condensation longer. So now you have this. This is not, I'd never seen it before this day or after the day with the thousands of houses that I've seen. This is a one of a kind, but this was the day that it was inspected by your not the home inspector, well, that's number two, but the city inspector, that signed off on this. And the reason why I know is because I failed because, or the drywall failed because they didn't cut out the drops. The inspector knew there was supposed to be something in the bathroom. It was mandatory at the time. So these are the things that happen that create a major problem, and something simple. A little 8x4 drywall to be cut out, which wasn't done, and then you have this. Incredible, just incredible amount of condensation. And then, here's for example, air spilling in, and pretty much it's stopping over here. Maybe the insulation is tight. It's trying to seep in here, it's seeping down. But these are the unusuals, and no water, stains, typical water, moisture stains from a leak from the roof. So that was odd too. But I want to get back to this. This drives me freaking crazy because this is garbage work. This should have never been designed this way. This should have never been inspected, and or during the permitting process. This is maybe a 20-inch radius here, and you got 4 feet or so of opening. But the problem here is that it's not a circle because they had to squish it and put it between the framing, and then you can see there's an offset. But what gets me even worse, because you don't need all this area, so this is just a waste of box. You want that air to flow. You want to come in and be you don't want any obstructions. Air and turbulence is creating here, spinning. But what I don't like is this. This is the duct board that's dropped onto the drywall, and all it has is a metal framing. And you can see a little bit here, metal framing. Z-bar, we used to call it Z-bar. So you would do this to create your ductboard box and set it to the drywall. But it should have been flanged or covered or caulked in. And all they did was float drywall mud. And I'm like, this is crazy. And this maybe helps with what's going on here. So something's going on, and this may be helping that along. So this, I can see a little hole here, a little hole here. I mean, it's an expensive house. I mean, come on. So now when you put the thermals, I took thermal imaging, you can see here on that left side, that long side, what's that? That's the heat from the attic is being pulled in. And you can see it here, over here on this edge, and you could almost pick out this little, this little hole around here. So this drives me crazy because now you're working with negative pressure. Once that door closes, and then it'll pull that the knob out of your hand, you have a ton of negative pressure. You don't want any openings anywhere in this closet, and you're seeing a bunch here. So this to me is a no-no. I've seen multiple models like this, same crappy workmanship. That's it, plain and simple, just unnecessary, and it contributes to a problem down the road. Now these are the swabs. So that first set of pictures, that was the closet there. I mean, 5.1 plus million on a square centimeter. There was a lot going on. I was surprised to see some clad with all the aspergillus fighting for territory. That linen closet, 3.4. Now the master bath. You have your aspergillus, but you got a nice colony of Stachybotrys. So that really, I felt it in that room. So these are the things that are unusual, didn't show, something changed, now there's a problem. So I rely on my experience of years of construction to help me try to figure some of these things out. So with that said, I'll be making more videos. I'm going to make more field videos, start creating. Feel free to comment, questions. I've doing this for over 8 years as a mold assessor, and even longer. I did remediation years ago. So you hear the right questions and you hear the nonsense questions. Whatever it is, I'll do my best to answer it. All right. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.